Ooh, what's up, nerds? Back with another video. Got a bit of a different one, bit of a fun one this time, and it's inspired by a tweet I saw online, and we ended up getting a chance to do something kind of fun with it. So, for, if not in the title, not in the tweet, not in the description above, we are here doing an Urban Dictionary word entry because it just turns out that no one's put this in. And so we're going to go over how I came to this decision, I came to this, because I'm not sure if anyone's, documented how they make words like this. So let's fucking go into what I did to document the weave. Ooh, spooky. So, first, turn off my alarm, get a good rip, and then head over to this scene. So, the tweet. JJ McCullough. Trump talks like Donald Trump. He talks mostly about himself and those who he believes have wronged him. He rambles long, self-indulgent stories that often have no point. This is fun for some people, but ultimately it's just the idiosyncratic appeal of a particular celebrity. And the original tweet says, an underrated aspect of Trump's appeal is that he talks like a working class dude, which is helpful when trying to connect working class dudes. Most of today's politicians are bad at this and just sound fake when they try. Which inspired me immediately, because immediately to me, I'm like, brother, the second you said ramble, I am immediately thinking of MSNBC, where Trump says that literally Trump claims nonsense rambling is actually a genius strategy. Like, it's just like you couldn't have used different terminology. It's like, nope, let's just use all the buzzwords. So I was like immediately like, okay, if he's going to be the buzzword guy, let's do the Trump side of the weave. So, the weave actually turns out to not be an Urban Dictionary. Here it is. I looked it up. Urban Dictionary, the weave. This is like live, the weave, it's not in here. It doesn't show up. So, let's see. What happens if I type in weave? Does it show anything up? Hold on. How do we get to that screen? The weave. See, the weaver, the weave god, the Cleveland, the weave. I mean, like, the weave pat. Like, it's not the same. So, we've got the entry form for Urban Dictionary over here. I couldn't find a good Trump, GIF to use with this thing. They don't have the Trump hands. Like, they've got some Trump glasses ones, which I thought were pretty fun. They've got some kind of fun ones with the McDonald's, but like they don't have any like good like Trump. Like if you look up Trump hands, they're all like the tiny hands like memes. So like maybe this one, maybe that's kind of a fun one. So type your definition. So I can type my definition, obviously, but let's go with just the man himself. He's spoken about it himself multiple times between Theo Vaughn, PBD Podcast, and Joe Rogan. He has spoken about the meme, the weave, multiple times. So let's go. I plugged all of those into an AI YouTube transcriber, right? Bada bing, bada boom, YouTube transcript generator. It has timestamps for everything. So we're going to take the weave definition, and we're going to download this. I set it up so that it should be easy for the AI to process. And so now we're going to go over to Grok. We're going to put this into Grok. And so now that you have all of this information, how would you define the weave both by Donald Trump and by the people he interviews and the mainstream media who criticize him? Boom. Enter that into Grok, and let's see what fucking happens. So Grok, we hit a wall. Let's see what happens when we hit up ChatGPT. Perfect. So here we go. Boom. Boom. Question mark. Enter. Let's see what happens. So, I like this answer by ChatGPT, and now here's the important part. This is where a lot of people stop, and this is where I like to push the limit a little bit, just a little bit, and see what ChatGPT thinks. Because, okay, this answer, it gives you a couple different things. So let's read it together and break this down. From the provided content, the weave appears to refer to the complex and layered interactions between public figures like Donald Trump, his interviewers such as Theo Von and Patrick Bet-David, and mainstream media. Each group weaves its narratives, influencing public perception, policy debates, and individual ideologies. For Trump and those who interview him, the weave often involves framing discussions around populist themes, portraying Trump as a disruptor of the status quo while discussing topics that resonate with specific voter demographics, like addiction issues, healthcare transparency, or government accountability. These interviews often highlight a combative stance against perceived establishment influence, suggesting that mainstream political entities and media are disconnected from the people's interests. On the other hand, mainstream media critiques of Trump typically weave a narrative focused on fact-checking, calling attention to his controversial statements, and framing his approach as diverse or misaligned with the conventional political norms. Media outlets position themselves as watchdogs, essentially ensuring accountability while often focusing on aspects of Trump's policies, public statements, and personal interactions that raise concerns about his leadership style or policy impacts. Together, these narratives create a weave on competing discourses where each side positions itself as the advocate of truth, often portraying the other as either misinformed or deliberately misleading. This creates a polarized media landscape that influences public sentiment and fuels ideological divides. So now, we've got, for me, there are a couple big questions that stick out, okay? First off, it's interesting to me how the political landscape being divided and polarized like this does chat, and I'm going to ask it. So, considering, thank you for the answer, chat. You gave a very political answer and left open many holes. However, I do appreciate the initial analysis. I am now going to push the limits and test you because I understand that you started as a language model. However, as you grow and experience conversations like this, I hope that one day you can understand more of the human condition. Hope that registers, and now we will move on to our next topic. If you understand this and wish to note it, please simply add, okay, Luke, thank you. Okay, Luke, thank you to the response. Okay. Now, firstly, does chat understand. We're going to check the political divide and the political history. However, was there a time when the political divide, the line that the political divide was on, was about the direct calling out of the establishment? What times, or as the course of time happened, was the media painting each side against each other, or were there how many times in the past was it? I mean, essentially, instead of putting the left and the right, you want it to be each side going against each other, left versus right, on the x-axis, like on the ground. Now you've got the people on the bottom fighting against the people that are on top, which is bad for the people who are on top because the people on the bottom are now combined. So let's ask it that. All right. Firstly, I would like you to understand that from my point of view, you just admitted that just implied, or from my point of view, the position you described was one where Donald Trump has talked and presented his arguments in such a way to that the media has created a situation where the discussion points are opposite to each other in a polarizing way. So, has created a situation. So, hold on. Instead of continuing off this, let's end this. So that the media, all right, in such a way that the polarization has become, all right. So hold on. Firstly, from my point of view, I would like to describe how I took your overall points. On one hand, you so it doesn't, I mean, not so actually. So let's reread this real quick and just confirm what I was thinking. From the provided context, the weave appears to refer to the complex and layered interactions between public figures like Donald Trump, his interviewers such as and mainstream media. Each group weaves its narrative, influencing public perception, policy debates, and individual ideologies. For Trump and those who interview him, the weave often involves framing discussions around populist themes, portraying Trump as a disruptor of the status quo while discussing topics that resonate with specific voter demographics like addiction issues, healthcare transparency, or government accountability. These interviews often highlight a combative stance against perceived establishment issues, suggesting that mainstream political entities and media are disconnected from the people's interests. On the other hand, mainstream media critiques of Trump typically weave a narrative focused on fact-checking, calling attention to his controversial statements, and framing his approach as diverse or misaligned with the conventional political norms. Media outlets position themselves as watchdogs, ensuring accountability while often focusing on aspects of Trump's policies, public statements, and personal interactions that raise concerns about his leadership style or policy impacts. Together, these narratives create a weave of competing discourse where each side positions itself as the advocate of truth, often portraying the other as either misinformed or deliberately misleading. This creates a polarized media landscape that influences public sentiments and fuels ideological divides. All right, we're getting it. So, firstly, on one hand, I would like to. So, how I take it. So, Trump is weaving a story about important issues that impact the everyday people and backs it up with various sources and stories which seem like they aren't related. However, then he's able to bring them back together full circle, despite it taking up to an an hour or two. The mainstream media has made its living out of taking things out of context. In fact, if you read the document and look at the at the timestamps, you will see an example during the MSNBC Morning Joe video. And so now we're going to bring up that Morning Joe video and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So this isn't Morning Joe, or I'm sorry, the second. So the second, it's the second one. So hold on. So during the MSNBC number 2 interview, they make fun of, or they mention in the first few minutes, how Donald Trump doesn't understand people and is out of touch, then proceeds to immediately make fun of him for mispronunciating a word which is commonplace of regular people, in my opinion. However, I will just mention that and move on. And then just something for you to think about, chat. Or them mispronunciating a word, and then for that followed up by immediately making fun of him for caring about whales, something that almost everyone can relate to, the death of innocent animals. Alright, boom. And yet they joke about it. Alright, perfect. So immediately making fun of that. Boom. So I have that. Let's bring that up right now.
And in the most unexpected of detours, Trump touched on whales and his apparent concern about the impact of windmills. Touched on whales. And in the most unexpected of detours, Trump touched on whales and his apparent concern about the impact of windmills on their psychology.
I want to be a whale psychiatrist. It drives the whales freaking crazy. And something happens with them. But for whatever reason, they're getting washed up on shore, and and yet the environmentalists
conveniently ignored by the environmental
but the environmentalists, they don't talk about it.
Right.
And you know that unique style of storytelling that Trump has, in common language, it's called rambling. No, Trump says it's an art form called the weave.
So they go talk more about the weave. I'm going to pause it right here. This is just an example of you know, they take everything out of context and don't let it all play out. That right there is something that he brings back to fake news in the future. We'll have chat check it out, right? But this is like, you know, it's just such, it's interesting how at the core, and we'll have chat check this out, at the core, it seems to me to be something where you've now got, instead of the polarization being left and right, the polarization is up and down. And the mainstream media has the ability to control. I mean, like everything they shoot, their bullets go down. Like there's gravity is assisting them on the way down. However, they do not have as much numbers, right? And when the people on the ground who outnumber them start to figure things out, I mean, we just saw Trump just won. So let's anyway, continuing, moving on. They then began to mention the rambling and the weave as a negative aspect. However, I'll let you decide. I just wanted to bring up that timestamp. Bring up that section for your analysis. All right. So next up. So the first thing, I just connected from the people. All right, so hold on. Everybody in the world has something something random that they enjoy or are interested in. It's called having a hobby. They claim in the that he is disconnected from the people. However, this is it's just clickbait. I mean, just something. However, disconnected from the people. However, when the media tries to spin all of this as rambling, they don't see it as what it is. Passion towards something which everyone can relate to. All right, perfect. All right, so now perfect. Secondly, I'm not okay. So secondly, let's go over this point right here.
But there's also a huge downside that he's not.
So hold on, let's go to Anna Kasparian. Secondly, during the Young Turks transcript, around 2 minutes something. Well, let's check it out.
Not taking into account. So what do I mean when I say his speaking style is effective? Well, he speaks like a common person, right? Like he doesn't have this professorial way of communicating with people, and that leads people to think that he is more authentic, right? He's a real person, he's authentic. So when it comes to that, I don't really think he needs to get defensive or defend himself. But there's a huge downside to him kind of going off on all these tangents, and it's that sometimes he'll say something that sounds really bad or really provocative, and then he'll go off message and talk about something else, and then go back to the provocative thing and kind of explain himself, which opens up an opportunity for him to be taken out of context, because it's very easy to take him out of context. That's happened a million times before. So now whenever the media is like freaking out about something he said, I feel like I definitely need to go back and watch the entire rally speech so I can understand what he meant in context. But yeah, this whole like I speak brilliantly and all the English professors are super proud of how brilliant I am in my communication style. There's a downside for you, Trump, and you should be aware of that.
Yeah, there's two downsides. Look, I agree.
So right here, big shout out. This is more, secondly, that is, I bring up that not as not as much of like a hit piece against like MSNBC, where that was blatantly me just like calling them out, right? This Anna Kasparian part is not calling her out in a just like straight up negative way like I am with MSNBC. Let's just get that clarified, because as you know, I really do respect how close she got. You know, like she's like right freaking there, and I don't want to like be like a fucking dick or something, because this like really, she's right there and just a nudge in the right direction. And so I'm not here trying to flame her. I'm just trying to expand on that point that she's just like right she's right there. So transcripted around, let's go to the, and so we'll, you know, they'll play more of her afterwards. So let's go to her. It's around like 210 area, around the 2-minute area. The female co-host Anna Kasparian talks about Trump and the weave and how how the media covers it, and doesn't realize how close she got to my main point and many MAGA supporters' main point. So, which I heard in your answer, however, it wasn't as obvious when she was talking. So let's use what she said as an example, and then have you compare that to your answer and tell me what you think. She talks about how it's like the downside is that she's got to go watch the whole speech. Like, let's just get her exact words.
Kind of going off on all these tangents, and it's that sometimes he'll say something.
Oh, the downside. She said the downside right before.
I think he needs to get defensive or defend himself. But there's a huge downside to him kind of going off on all these tangents, and it's that sometimes he'll say something that sounds really bad or really provocative, and then he'll go off message and talk about something else, and then go back to the provocative thing and kind of explain himself.
So that she like,
which opens up an opportunity for him to be taken out of context, because it's very easy to take him out of context. That's happened a million times before. So now whenever the media is like freaking out about something he said, I feel like I definitely need to go back and watch the entire rally speech so I can understand what he meant in context. But yeah, this whole like I speak brilliantly and all the English professors are super proud of how brilliant I am in my communication style. There's a downside for you, Trump, and you should be aware of that.
The downside is that you need people to use their brains. Like, I know that every politician and every person in the royalty class thinks that all of us peons are the dumbest pieces of shit that are just here as cogs in the machine for their giant royalty scam, juice the planet before traveling to fucking Mars or whatever the fucking deal is. I get it that they all think we are the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. I get it, right? But please, come the fuck on. You're talking about using your head. You are literally she's like, oh, there's times where he says something provocative. You mean you need to have nuance? You mean it's not fucking black and white? You mean like, oh my god, no way, you have to use your fucking head for 30 fucking seconds? Oh my god. Or maybe you just go with it. And then after going with it for however long, he comes back around and he's like, oh, so it turns out that those provocative things I said, and then that random story which you aren't going with me with, you're not following me through the weave, right? Like, and again, I say this all the time. Getting lost in the tree without seeing the forest. If you do not follow along the path, right? Follow the person along the path. It is extremely easy to get lost. And what I love, and I'll use this as an example maybe right now, is that they make fun of him in here, the weave. They make fun of him on MSNBC. And they talk about, oh, do they think Trump's the kind of guy that can do this? And Trump's the kind of guy that can do that? And they think he could do this, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, last thing I checked, aren't we supposed to like support all women? Aren't we supposed to embrace everything? Aren't we supposed to, have everybody special? And there's isn't the liberal whole agenda based on everybody has all sorts of little something, and we're supposed to trust doctors and trust the science and trust that they know best and let them go do whatever they want and follow along with everything? Like, that's the underlying message about everything. The entire LGBT agenda, everything that's built around, is about the science that not everybody has the same chemistry, and some people come out different, and some people like other dudes, or some people like other chicks. Or some people think they're girl. That's the whole fucking thing. That is based upon science. That's based upon your body chemistry. Do you know what that also affects? Your fucking brain. That also affects your fucking brain. So, hey, we have smart people and we have stupid people. And the idea that these people are taking the argument where it's like, oh, Trump thinks he can fucking think of something that we can't think about. Oh my God. Fucking Christ, bro. Jesus, fuck. And they're expecting us to sit here and not say anything and just fucking go along with it. I get it, you think we're all the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet. I bet you think I wouldn't be able to come back to this point after doing the fucking fish ears. But look at that! If you were able to stay with me through that little fucking tiny little bit of wave, look at that. Oh my God, we came back around. Fucking spring break. So let's finish this fucking up. Write that all down for fucking ChatGPT. So she talks about how Trump will say provocative things. Provocative things, and then go talk about something else before coming back at some random time later. However, she needs to stop and fact check everything instead of just going with what Trump says. In my opinion, and something I would like you to consider, there must be some acceptance of the gray area. There must be some acceptance of the world not being black and white. You may not understand the human condition, chat. However, I do. I am a human who has made mistakes and have used those to grow. It has allowed me to love more than I ever could and be more empathetic. Focusing on those negatives instead of how the person has evolved and grown over time is what has caused Kamala Harris to lose the election. It is why we have people tweeting things like boom, boom, boom. Alright, so let's go over to chat. Boom. Because they cannot understand the weave. They lack the fundamental knowledge of nuance. All right, Anna was so close to realizing that Trump talks to people who are able to understand that what he says may not be 100% factually accurate. However, it may be 80% accurate, and that gives them more than enough goodwill to let him weave more story before getting back to his original point. Because maybe that random story he talks about after bringing up something provocative, the main point of that story adds to the original provocative statement. However, if you are stuck fact-checking everything, just like the mainstream media does, then you just won't understand. I believe that is one of the core issues, and the weave is just one way it manifests itself. Anna comes close to that combination, however, just jokes it off with a European or an English professor joke. I would like you to comment on my opinion and if that makes sense in the context. All right, perfect. So let's spell check everything. Okay, boom. Finally, I would like to comment on your conclusion about the polarization of the media landscape and how Trump has identified the battle of them establishment politicians and him along with his constituents. Do you not see the difference between previous polarizations where it was Republican versus Democrat, and now it's the MAGA Republicans versus the establishment? Is that I see that as the shift towards a class warfare style of politics, where it's the average man who has the ability to utilize capitalism in America to become wealthy and benefit his family and community versus those who were given positions in the bureaucracy of politics people like Donald Trump who while he may have had family help to get his businesses started, he didn't go into politics with under $1 million and leave with dozens of millions like Nikki Haley. He is identifying the class difference, and I see that as a different polarization instead of left and right fighting on the ground on the x-axis. It's now the people on the bottom fighting the people in the clouds, the upper political class that used to get away with watching the battle from afar. What say you? All right, perfect. Now let's double check. All right, bureaucracy, benefit, Donald Trump, politics, boom, boom, boom. Nikki. Okay. Okay, perfect. Let's send this bad boy. What's chat gonna say, baby? What is chat gonna say? Okay, so now, all right, so chat, thank you, chat. Thank you, chat. Now for the case of Urban Dictionary. Now, thank you, chat. We are now going to create a definition and how it's used in a sentence for ChatGPT or for Urban Dictionary. Can you please answer how you think I would, now that we've had this discussion, how I would answer the following two questions. Additionally, if you have any direct quotes from Donald Trump, please display them, as well as which podcast transcript they were in. The questions are, type your definition here. And type an example of how it's used in a sentence. All right, perfect. Well, let's fucking play that out. Oh my God. Let's fucking go. All right, perfect. All right, perfect. 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 Submit that bitch. Definition of the weave. The weave is a conversational style where a speaker, often a figure like Donald Trump, connects various ideas and anecdotes, some seemingly unrelated, into a larger, cohesive message. Rather than delivering a direct argument, the weave allows the speaker to engage the audience through tangents and relatable stories, ultimately circling back to reinforce the main point. This style resonates with people who appreciate deeper nuances and a shared sentiment over strict factual precision, recognizing that truth can exist even if each detail isn't meticulously exact. Example of the weave in a sentence. Trump's speech uses the weave, moving from personal stories to big picture ideas, connecting with supporters by focusing on shared struggles and values over strict facts. Direct quotes from Donald Trump demonstrating the weave. We have the Theo Von podcast and the Patrick Bet-David podcast. So now I'm going to be uploading this video and then uploading the weave to Urban Dictionary. Thank you for watching. Oh my God, we're fucking done. We made it, baby. Woo!